in the meeting. If you have questions that pop up throughout, just throw it in the chat box. It is getting recorded. So if there's something that's personal that you don't necessarily want out there for everybody to see, you can definitely call or email me. If Mr. Burkhalter will remember, I'll throw my contact information in towards the end in the chat box. So you can do that. So thank you for joining us. We're at 72 people, which is great. I think that beats the elementary and middle school, so we can declare ourselves champion for the night or something. But thanks for joining us. For those that don't know me, I'm Jason Kress. I'm the high school principal here at Viroqua. Just a real basic, it's my second year here. Although with COVID going on, I think even in the middle school meeting, John introduced me as the third year because I think we get to spend so much time together during these times. But it's my second year here. Been married for 20 plus years, have 6 children. 5 of them are in the district. 4 of them are in the high school and middle school building. And so definitely not only do I come across all these decisions as a administrator, but a parent too, as we're heavily invested in the district. So thank you all for joining tonight. Mainly tonight, what I want to go through is just kind of our options. We have the 2 options that are set up to begin the year. And then I also want to run through kind of for the non-full online option, kind of what a day looks like to just kind of give people the run through. And then we'll try to get through that quick enough that we can get to questions and get through the evening and get you on to the rest of your evening. After over 4 or 5 months into COVID, the last thing I want to do is talk COVID with you all night. And I think a lot of people probably get tired of that. Anybody that was at the graduation ceremony, if you think back to it, I didn't say the word COVID purposely at all in the entire ceremony of my speech. So the 2 options, high school wise, for this upcoming beginning of the year, like I said, there's a virtual at home 5-day option. That option is provided by an outside provider. But since it is through our district, students that participate in that option are eligible for our co-curriculars, athletics, and all those events. So any extracurricular, since it's provided by our district, they're all good with that. For those that are interested in that option, we will have a Zoom orientation next week that they will provide for us that you'll be able to ask additional questions there. And so that's the one option is the 5-day. And I'll talk a little bit about that, but I'm going to focus a lot of tonight on the other option because I think that's the one that some people are kind of wondering what does it all look like type of situation. So the second option is a 2-day in-person followed by 3-day online for a typical 5-day week option. There'll be an A group that will be on Mondays and Tuesdays in-house. And they will go online then Wednesday through Friday. And then there'll be a B group that'll be a Thursday, Friday group. And then they'll go on the following Monday through Wednesday with their online portion. A group will be last name A through K in the alphabet. B group will be last name L through Z in the alphabet. And in essence, the A group would start September 1st. The B group wouldn't start till September 3rd. Because they'll be lagging behind to keep that kind of rotation. The A through K, L through Z is something we've kept consistent through grades 7 through 12, where this option is available. We also even made it consistent with our 4K kids who used to have Fridays be there at home, but we want to be able to match it up for families as best possible. If there is a family that has a case where like 2 kids in the family have a different last name, we'll obviously work with that family to make sure that they are able to match up days. So for those that are in Laurel or have your students be a part of Laurel, I know Mrs. Baker sent out a email tonight. We talked, I guess it was this afternoon, Mrs. Baker and I did. There are a few different options or a few different varieties or details with Laurel. So definitely you can contact us as far as that goes. With it being a charter school and it being the size it is, there is a few different varieties and things that we can do, just like we did last spring with Laurel. So typical day. So a typical day in a 2-day on. So if you think, I'll start with the 3-day online portion. Most of that is going to be asynchronous, so they're not going to be live with the teacher. partly because 2 of those 3 days, the teachers is going to be teaching the other half of the students that are in their classes. And there, a lot of parents really enjoy, and a lot of online options have that flexibility so that you can work whenever. And a common question may be like, how many hours are we looking at work? Roughly, I would say for the 3 days, if you total the 3 days combined, you're probably looking at roughly 10 hours of work on your online learning. So the in-person, the in-person days would basically start at this point. And obviously we work with, I don't even know, Mr. Burkhalter and I, how many meetings we've had with Vernon County Health. So I will preface things with, if guided differently by Vernon County Health, we will change things. But at this point, it would start basically with temperature checks at home. And basically if your child has a temperature over 100.4, they should stay home. And then as soon as they hit the bus or hit the school building, they need to have their masks on as they come in. Middle school students are going to enter, and high school students are going to enter different places. The ones that are being dropped off. High school will continue to go through the entrance that we normally have had students come through that are dropped off. But it just doesn't make sense in this time to funnel everybody through one entrance. Students will go to their lockers, grab their morning items, head to class. We are currently, if you haven't been able to reach Miss Lear today or possibly the next couple of days, it's because we are currently reworking our lockers. So we're doing some spacing throughout there. Historically, if you haven't known, we are A through Z, one right after the other. So we're reworking those while the students are gone. We will get that information out to the students. We'll also obviously post lists on those first few days. But we want to get a little bit of space in between lockers as much as possible. So we have 100, I think we have 399 for some reason lockers at the high school. And realistically, we will probably have 125 to 145 students in the building each of these days at a maximum. So, so we're able to build in some space by the lockers. Students will be socially distanced in class. Typically, we've had a snack time between first block and second block. That snack will actually now occur in first block. They will stay in first block. They will not travel for snack. Desks will be cleaned in between uses. So anytime a student leaves a desk before another student gets into that, the desk or table will be clean, and we'll be training our staff on how to do that. We haven't quite decided yet. Students will travel. I may actually put a line down the middle of the floor and have students kind of stay to the right just to keep flow a little bit better. But we'll see if we do that. I don't know if I'll do a solid line if I do, but just to try to keep kids that are keeping flowing. We actually decreased a little bit of the passing time because we just want them to grab their stuff and get back into class. We are a little, obviously we're going to be cautious about a lot of things. Passing time is definitely one of them. But at the same time, we realize, especially like a 17, 18-year-old that hasn't been in the same class all day long for 7 years, it's probably not going to work for them to sit in the same classroom for 7 hours straight, type of thing. So if you think it will, try to put your teenager and have them, I don't know, sit in their room for 7 hours straight and stay awake. It might be a little bit of a challenge. So during lunch, another one we put a lot of thought into. The nice thing, we've always had some options during lunch. We will continue with open campus. It's not a bad idea for the kids to get outside. Obviously, we'll greatly encourage them, and we would encourage parents who have kids that are going open campus to encourage them not to be traveling with groups of friends and things like that. But I think it is good. A nice thing is also gets us out of here. We have students typically that eat in the high school commons area. We have students that eat up in Laurel. And we're going to have 1 or 2 other places that we're going to set up. So the students will be able to be spread out. One of the things we don't want to do is have, obviously, even with 130 potentially kids in the building, we don't want them all eating in one area. And then we'll definitely have to set up and make some limitations as far as there's not going to be 8 kids around a table by any means. So those limitations will be there. And then one of the other biggest changes I would say for lunch is we're going to have them stay in that area. There's not a, I'm done eating and now I can go hang out in the hallway and sit with a group of friends type of thing. So they're going to have to be there, especially within this building. We're not going to have them congregate. If kids come and say, hey, I want to go walk outside, things like that, I think fresh air is phenomenal for them, and we'll do those options. But After lunch, they'll have 3B, fourth block, and then we're done at 2:30. So there's no resource time. We will continue. In the past, we've done homework help after school. We will continue to offer homework help through this program. It'll just start earlier in the day. And obviously, we'll make sure that the social distancing occurs in there too. I would expect, when we look at class numbers, when we're breaking the kids in half class-wise, most of our classrooms will probably have 8 to 11 students in at a time, which obviously increases our ability to social distance and have kids in there. It makes it easier for us to clean because there's, like I told my teachers today, I don't have spots to put 400 desks anywhere in this building. So they're going to have extra furniture in there, and they'll be able to set it up so that kids use a certain one, and then the next hour that doesn't even need to get used, but it'll definitely get cleaned before the next person uses it. So that's kind of running through the day, not including busing, which I know Tom kind of covered the other night. So I will, because I really don't want to keep you guys longer than normal. I'll start with questions, but if you have things that pop up, just throw them in the chat box. And so how many students are in the A versus B group? They're pretty evenly split. So what I told John, I think John mentioned this in the middle school meeting, I ended up adding up how many were in total. And then from the first survey, I subtracted off all of those kids. And then when we decided to go 7-12, we added those kids in. And every time we did it, the natural split was between K and L. So I think you look at the high school, not including Better Futures kids this year, our enrollment's probably in the low 320s. So there are roughly about 160 students in each of those groups. I didn't even start at the top. Sorry about that, Christy. Band choir trip. I knew I would get a band choir trip question. I am not guaranteeing you that there will be a New York, Washington, D.C. band choir trip this year. I think we'll explore options definitely. If it can't happen, or if it gets modified, or if it gets changed, we'll definitely be looking at reimbursements. Mr. Thu is already doing some legwork with that. I think with different situations, I don't know the most current situation. At one point in time, I don't think New York was even letting Wisconsin people in. So we'll kind of see where we're at. We'll give you enough heads up on that. But if you told me I had to make a decision tonight and a prediction whether we would be going to New York and Washington, D.C. in March or April, I would, if you made me bet something on it, I probably would bet against it, type of thing. So we'll definitely explore different options, but there will be reimbursement options involved if that's a possibility too. So can we participate in the Zoom orientation for AM Momentum and then make our decision? Yes. We initially put the Sunday deadline for decisions, but if you read in the paperwork, we also made the comment that you have up to 2 weeks into the school year to decide. We are more concerned about you making the right choice for your family than having it done by a certain deadline. Obviously, it's great for us for planning to know if people have already made up their mind. It's great to know now. But if you truly don't know at this point, even if you make a decision, you can change it and just let us know. So, when we're doing lockers and stuff, we're trying to play that into the numbers and things like that, but we can always adjust that too. So we use it for planning, and obviously we want to do as much planning as possible so that we're not, putting in a 48-hour day on August 31st to try to get the planning done. But at the same time, I want you to make the right choice for your family. So don't feel like you have to put a decision in by Saturday night and then regret it come Monday morning. So just make sure if you are considering Edmendum, let me know, so I'll make sure and send that Zoom link out to you. So Group A kids only have 1 day of school at the start. Yeah, they would if we stuck strictly to the Monday, Tuesday. The 4-day weeks do complicate things. We actually will likely, and I don't know if it'll be next week or not, we'll likely be going to the school board to just talk about school calendar because I don't know if you know, but our fair got canceled. And so even though we're one of the few people or a few counties that have a fair day built in their school schedule, we're going to probably manipulate things. This AB schedule works best with 5-day weeks. So likely what the plan is going to be, because with Labor Day happening early on, and September 1 not happening to a Tuesday. Likely what's going to happen the first week, the A group would meet Tuesday, Wednesday, and the B group would meet Thursday, Friday. And then the second 4-day week, the A group would just meet Tuesday, and the B group would just meet Thursday. So we're going to keep them on schedule, keep them on pace. We kind of planned it out through the first quarter. So for the A group, that would be the only Wednesday. That first Wednesday would be the only Wednesday that they would have. And the B group would not have any Wednesdays in person. So we've hesitated to get it out yet. We've put together a schedule of like, these are the days you would be in person. These are the days you would be online. But until the school board hopefully modifies our calendar slightly, I hesitate to put out a document that contradicts the school board calendar. So if my child is an A kid and a teacher assigns a project, but my child's normal partner is a B kid, will they be able to work on the same project together? Well, I guess the question would be what you mean by normal partner. Because they wouldn't be in their class this time. So I mean, if the partners are assigned within the class, that I wouldn't consider them their normal partner at this time. I mean, if you're talking from previous years, I guess the easiest way to say that is that they would have a different partner if it's a partner activity. So are the online classes going to be assigned classes from Viroqua High School? So if you're talking 3 days a week, those classes will be a continuation with those 2 teachers. If you're talking the 5-day a week total online option, what we will do is we will try to match up schedules pretty accurately. Our in-house school and our online provider do have slightly different classes, but obviously there's some commonality, and there's requirements that we have. You know, for instance, we require U.S. history freshman level. We would have our freshmen online 5 days a week take U.S. history. The nice thing is before the pandemic hit and we got sent out of here, we did do registration. So we do have schedules set up for all the kids. They will mirror pretty likely, very similarly, what their schedule would have been if they were in-house, if they're choosing to go online. Will students be able to leave for lunch? Yes. What will lunch look like? Hopefully it'll be wonderful to eat and yummy. And I think I already answered that one. So if I need more specific, just throw it later in the chat. So if a child starts virtual or at Medham, school closes, goes virtual learning, can the Medham kids join the VHS teachers virtually? Not likely, unless it's at a convenient time to do it. Even though they may be in similar classes, they may, in the sequence of order that things are taught, may be totally different. And we don't want gaps to be created. You know, you think sequentially, especially math classes, it's very much the case where things are sequentially done. So like, I guess the best way to answer that is like, you're in the 2 different programs on Tuesday, September 15th, they're not going to be doing the same exact lesson. So I think it would make it a little challenging to do it. But that doesn't mean that if we get shut down that way and everybody goes that way and it looks like it's going to stay that way, it doesn't mean that second semester we won't transition back over. At the high school level, quarters and semester times are by far the easiest. Semester is by far the easiest just because you're dealing with credits and transitions. And that's even the hesitation at the beginning of the year with the switch, because you don't want to come walking into a class a week late. But at the same time, I want you to be in the right program for you. So if I miss one here, just Tom or somebody, you know, wave at me. So essential worker. Yeah, if you're looking Laura-wise, like I said, there is going to be some flexibility Laura-wise with it being a charter school and with it being smaller. There's going to be a few different options. So Renee is going to be, I know we really started with the planning of that. So as far as Laurel virtual classes, Renee and I will be communicating out with you sooner rather than later as far as that. But we were going through some process and different things. Even, like I said, last spring, Laurel students were a little bit different as far as how we did programming. So, and I expect there to be some variety again starting this year. So, It's possible to have cameras in the classroom to live stream the instruction. There is a lot of legality involved with that. I know some schools have done it, but there are definitely two trains of thought on that. At this point, we are not considering live streaming it out type of thing. And there's a lot of things as far as identifying kids. Colleges, it's totally easy because they're not minors, but there is a lot of legality that'll come into play with that. I don't know if Tom has anything additional that he wants to add or.
Yeah, just another hurdle that some districts that started throughout the country with the live stream is that even if families have good internet, if they have 3 or 4 kids at home, all live streaming into classrooms, they're having some issues with even really, really good internet. So just another thing that was brought up today during the superintendent's meeting.
So, and part of the reason I had Tom answer that or further that is Andrew, his next question was a little bit longer, so it gave me time to read. I don't disagree. I love my Viroqua area teachers, and I think they're fabulous. So I would love them teaching everything. At the same time, I know I can have them teach in person 4 days a week, create 3 days of online lessons, and then also, create lessons for 5-day online kids. So I think, we're trying to definitely get a balance, but I definitely believe that the best education is with our Viroqua teachers. Hopefully when this is all said and done, I also believe, and I will always believe, our best education is in front of those teachers. We are a social society, and if we didn't realize that, we realized it probably by April or May of last year. And so I think to connect with kids, it's a whole lot easier to do it in person. So we'll definitely try to connect and reach a balance to not only meet their social needs, but also their academic needs. So what do the virtual days look like? How will the teachers be? If you're talking the 3 days with our teachers for the, I guess, hybrid for lack of term option, they'll be pretty asynchronous and they will be able to kind of work at their own pace. I know I've had a lot of parents reach out and appreciate that because of kids having jobs or different things, or the inability of them to be able to stream, 3 or 4 things at home. If you're talking the 5-day online, there will be they do some live, but not much. Again, it's a lot of most online, especially high school probably, and maybe to some degree college, a lot of it's more asynchronous and it's more independent based. The nice thing with the virtual 5-day a week, there is a basically 8 to 5, I think, and maybe 8 to 3 on Friday. There is like an open help tutoring type of desk that kids can go to. It won't necessarily be their exact teacher, but they can get that tutoring help. And then there is the ability to contact teachers, but it's, like I said, I don't think it's anything like being able to do it face-to-face. So what about the Laurel number AB split? They're all kind of similar. And the challenging thing with the Laurel kids, especially the ones that aren't 100% Laurel, is they still kind of, even with the split, they kind of fall into the regular high school at times when they're taking classes in both. So there is a little bit of variety in the split, even between classes as we've been working on lockers. There's a little bit of variety. I, in the past, never would have been able to tell you exactly where the cutoff is in every single grade that we have, but as we work on lockers, we can do that. So there's a lot of similarities split-wise. So it's actually surprising that it is. So, will students receive a letter grade for Edmentum classes? If they're taking it as a regular high school student, yes. If they were taking it as a Laurel, no, because Laurel is not a graded thing. As far as letter grade, they actually will receive a percent, and we will put that percent in our grading scale, and it will calculate in their grade point average. So yes, it would be just similar like it was last spring. It will be regular letter grades. Are there plans set up for if and when? That's something I think you always tackle as far as, trying to meet up things. I think that's one of the things. And the nice thing is a lot of things when we transition, if we transition at semester time, most of my teachers I encourage to do a pre-test, post-test in their class anyway, to see where they're at, because no matter where they come in, they need to be able to grow from there. And I think when you do the pre-test, post-test, the nice thing if you do the pre-test and all the kids already know it ahead of time, it saves you a little bit of time in the end. And similar, if you know kids are struggling, you got to slow it down and add something in too. So I think there's definitely, and there's going to be definitely monitoring as we go along throughout. Similar, I think it's, and this is probably pre-K 12. I was debating if I was going to say pre-K. Knowing where the kids are coming in now after we haven't seen them since early to mid-March is going to be a huge thing. So I think I would encourage all of my teachers, if not, like I can probably would say require, you got to figure out where these kids are at coming in, just like you should every year, type of thing. So. Oh, so Mr. Thu's already on top of that. That's good. And he talked, I'll just throw in today too, we talked, and this came up in a little bit in the middle school meeting, as far as how band would interact in different things. Band and choir are probably two of our bigger challenges just because of large numbers. We have great thriving programs. Different instruments are different. Percussion would mask up. They're not playing anything that they can't mask up. We're looking at, particularly for the flute players, we're going to probably have to go with more of a face shield. So there's definitely a lot of thoughts going on. So Linda said Broadway's closed till May. Thinking no. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Linda. So how are you monitor mask wearing, or what emphasis will be placed on these? They have to. I mean, it's the rule. And if they're not going to follow the rule, the nice thing is, and like I said, Viroqua's always had options. We continue to have options. If they're not willing to be here and have their mask on, we have another option for you. I don't mean to be jerky about that, but it is what it is. So, yeah, Thanksgiving would affect B students. We mapped it out kind of through the end of first quarter. And I think like Tom said in the district meetings, we're gonna try to reevaluate every 4.5 weeks. My hope, I will be honest with you, is that I'm A through Z by Thanksgiving, but we'll see. And if not, we will plan it out and we'll go from there. So Edmentum students, how many hours do you expect Edmentum high school students to be online each day? You know, they don't necessarily have to do it per day. There may be some that is synchronous. I would say most online curriculums, and it varies somewhat depending on the student. Some work quicker and some work slower than others. I have a child who, even when she takes notes, her notes have to look perfect. So it takes her forever to even take notes. So I think a lot of kids, it's different. I would say a general rule of thumb is if you averaged it over the 5 days, you're probably talking 3.5 hours. Will students have to pick all new classes if they choose Edmentum? Will the credits be the same with Edmentum? Credits will be the same. Likely, they will be able to pick very similar classes. There might be a few that are different. We have Edmentum, I believe their high school course catalog, I think has 400 classes, I think the last I looked. So there are options there. I do not believe there are much for music options. I think you can take music appreciation, but it's not a performing music type of thing. And that brings into play too, if a kid went online 5 days a week, we would be able to open up, similar to like we do for a traditional homeschool kid, where they, provided we have space, they could come in and take a class or two per semester with us. So there are things that we can kind of work out and be a little flexible with in that sense. And we're obviously going to grant our students that are our students as much, if not more, leadway than we would do a traditional homeschool student to do that. So obviously the space, we're going to monitor space for monitoring. I went to 6 months ago, I couldn't have told you the exact square footage of most of my classrooms, but I can rattle most of those off right now. So what points in the school year will there be the pivot points that they could transition? The easiest point semester. In all honesty, we would like families to, within probably the first 2 weeks of the school year, kind of make a commitment. And ideally, they would make the commitment for that semester. And then we would either, now with the in-house option, if we get to the point where we can go 5 days a week, A to Z, or if we get totally shut down, those will be things that health-wise we would have to pivot on. But ideally, especially for transitioning time, it's best if it's at semester time. If you think about it, it's similar for any of you if you've moved mid-year or something. There is some there is some similarity to almost transitioning from school to school, because you might be coming at different times. Like I said, Edmentum had like 400 classes. Some they match up, some they don't. All the cores they do, but it's possible that you may even be taking a class in one or the other that actually doesn't fit. On the flip side, if there's always going to be an exception. So on the flip side, if there's a medical thing or something that happens, similar like how we've done in the past with homebound agreements, there's always going to be exceptions that we can work through. But the general rule we like is within the first 2 weeks, if you could commit for that semester. So what will the lessons look like for hybrid students? Depends a little bit. If you're talking online lessons, depends a little bit on teacher. We'll go all through Google Classroom as our general platform. So there'll be a variety. I've always harped on my teachers that we always need to be strong on reading and writing. So there may be an emphasis on reading and writing, because I think we can always improve with that. And I think that's some of the challenges with online, because a lot of your information you have to get reading wise. So I think there'll be some. And I understand with you. I have children in my house that like to get their work done and not necessarily get it done well. So I think there is that definite situation. I had a one of my middle school children last semester, last semester. I was very happy to have, when she would get something done quickly, the teacher would send it on back and say, why don't you give this another shot, type of thing. So because I think we want students to do a good job on it. That's part of the reason a lot of schools, you want to stick with the letter grades too, just because there has to be a motivator out there. There's a lot of meetings that we're in with other high school principals, and there was a lot of schools that went pass fail, and by the time they hit May or June, they were regretting going pass fail, just because that letter grade is a motivator. So will there be consumer ed, Woods, etc.? Oh, school board president even asking questions. That's awesome. Yes, we will run all of our classes. Some of them will have to look different. I mean, they honestly will have to. We've talked as far as even with like our metals classes, every student's gonna have to be able to have their own hood. There's gonna be different things. The nice thing with the AB schedule, it makes it more manageable. But yeah, some things may look different. Some PE classes, especially early on, they may all look like individual sports classes, because you just have to do some activities that are more, are safer. And it's all about making things safer throughout. And that goes in the individual classes. And the nice thing is a lot of the teachers have professional organizations. We mentioned Mr. Thu, the Music Association, they had a 6-page document out, I think in May, with all their recommendations and thoughts and different things. So I think, there's a lot of individual education we're getting, and then also just trying to do things in our safe ways too. So yeah, there's definitely, we're going to run everything there. It's not going to all look the same. I mean, it's just, I talk to teachers, and that's going to be a struggle for teachers, probably less of a struggle than in 2 or 3 days time going strictly online. But it's going to be different. The classroom, it has to look different, and it has to, you're not going to be able to get inside kids' bubbles. You need to be able to social distance and have a classroom that can still connect. So if your kid tries 2 days in school and 3 days online, does not feel safe, will they be able to go online instead? Yeah, especially, I think kids will get a good feel in those first couple of weeks, what it feels like and how it reacts. Yeah, I think that's definitely an option. I think, like I said, we like the numbers for planning purposes, to just kind of figure out. And, if we had, part of the reason for the parent surveys is if we had 95% of our parents that said we want online, obviously, that's going to steer us one way. On the flip side, if we have 15% of our parents that say I'm going online, that's going to steer us things. So, but as far as the individual thing, our numbers have been pretty consistent with the 2 surveys, which has been great. And so I feel like we feel confident that we can get a handle on how many we can do. And, like I said, we probably, even if everybody showed up, high school wise, I'd have about 160 kids in the building. So, so it's easy for planning sense. So definitely there's some flexibility there. So Yes. And part of the reason, so with the teachers, they're teaching 4 days a week. So we actually, the nice thing is we're not shut down by the state at this point, at least, and hopefully we won't be. Hopefully we don't get to that point, but we will be able to connect with kids. There's possibility that kids could stop in on Wednesdays. There's possibilities, like there always has been the case, the kids could stay after school, come a little bit before school to connect with teachers, just like in the past. So there's those type of things. Obviously, in all those situations, we're going to make sure social distancing occurs, but those possibilities are always there. Phone, email, it's a case. Wednesday is probably going to be your best connection if you're going to try to connect, because they're going to be teaching the other 4 days of the week. But yeah, definitely there's going to be that connection. So, any word on sports? I had a feeling I'd get a sports question here too. Well, if you really want to be entertained, the WIA Board of Controls has a 8 o'clock meeting tomorrow morning, I think, and you can watch it on YouTube if you want, to see if they make any decisions on it. As far as practices go, we are going to kind of leave it up to coaches and teams as far as if we can hold practices, and everything's a go with that. Just like every other plan, our sports, I think it was yesterday, I think Tom, Eric, and I met with County Health to talk sports. We would allow our coaches to start practices right after the school day, so right at 2:30 or 2:35 in that ballpark. If that's the case, obviously we would expect them to be done, 45 minutes earlier than they would have been done in the past if they're starting 45 minutes earlier. Also if it's better for the team to meet later, or better for, or if the coach is a community member and they can't, I just think for students probably to not make a trip, and I don't want students just hanging out, for 45 minutes to an hour waiting for a practice to start. So, but yeah, we're definitely working on that. What triggers going back to AZU? What benchmarks need to be hit? Great question to ask the health department. No, they've been working well with us. I know different counties. I think Jefferson County, which is over like southeastern part of the state, they as a county put out a threshold with a certain percent and said, okay, if the county hits this percent, it wouldn't shock me if Vernon County goes to that. Otherwise, if we have to come up with that threshold ourselves, we'll definitely be consulting with our county, and I'm sure our county will be taking into consideration other places too. So, yeah, I think it's a great question. I think as we've gone throughout this process, we've always looked for guidance and guidelines, and we know we're not health professionals, although sometimes we feel like we're trying to do the best we can. But at the same time, since we know we're not health professionals, I'm not going to just throw out a random number and say, hey, let's stick with that. So I think that's something I think, we have regionally, we had the Cooley Compass at one point, which people can agree or disagree with, whether it worked or didn't work. It was basically created for a large population, which sometimes doesn't transfer well to a smaller population. Now, if you look, there's a lot of what place they're going to is what's called the Harvard model. And I think the nice thing with the Harvard model is it's kind of nationally normed. So if you want to do some more research, if you're not tired of hearing COVID by the time you're done with me, Google Harvard model COVID, and you can see every county in the United States and kind of see where they rank us at. So, so I think, and it's possible Vernon might choose them. The Cooley Compass was based on one of the original models that came out. And I think that there's been a lot of updated models, and there's always updated rules. And I think that's what we thank you all for your patience as far as we've gone through that. I mean, you think how the rules are changed, I think, and I don't want to get started on a mask debate because I know there's way too many politicians talking masks. But back in April, I think they were recommending don't mask, and now obviously we've spun from there. So we're going to have to adapt as we go, and we know that. And we'll just do the best we can to keep the kids safe and get them an education. So. I think you need to have another town hall meeting with Vernon County Health. Yeah, we can definitely float that out to them. They're aware that we had the county hall meetings. The other thing we could probably do, Like I said, our health department's been great communicating with us. I hope they feel the same from us because we spend a lot of time together. But I think even Tom and I can start with just sharing the recordings of these town hall meetings so they can, kind of see where the parents are at and their concerns and everything. Because we're all in this together. We're all part of Vernon County together. So the more we can communicate together, the better. So.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and we will float that out there, and hopefully they will respond with a yes. That would be a great idea.
How early can a parent drop off their child at school? I know middle school meeting, I think John was saying about 7:50. I mean, we don't want real early. I mean, outside's not necessarily bad. I just don't want to have to herd, and I don't want kids putting at the locker. So I don't know if we're going to have a set locker time. I know even you think middle school wise, historically, we've had like a holding tank. We're definitely not doing that, type of thing. And that's the challenge with it because, we try to have as tight a schedule, but at the same time, we don't want everybody funneling through the door within 3 minutes either. That doesn't help us either. So that may be something. September 1, I may not have a great answer for you. I mean, as close to 8 o'clock as possible, I guess I would say, but yeah, we might have to kind of, stretch that out. So, hey, thanks, Ruthie. That's very nice. Hallway activity. Hallway activity. Eric and I will be out there a lot with our masks on. Just making sure. I think that it's something we're always going to be monitoring. I think a lot of, we'll be having teachers poke out as much as they can, but at the same time, the teachers may be doing some cleaning and different things too, depending on class sizes. So, and it's always the tough battle. Like, do you put more people out there and then, does that create more of a risk? If anybody watched or came to our graduation ceremony, we were probably pretty restrictive as far as our graduation went. We purposely didn't put anybody on the stage, and it's not that I don't appreciate our board members or think our board members have a huge impact, but if they're not going to speak, why put them on a stage and have kids walk by them? So I think we're going to do enough we can. It's really interesting because when the seniors leave the week early, you can tell so much in the hallway. I mean, it's just when a quarter of your population leaves, it's huge, and we'll probably have 60% of our population not here on a given day. I mean, so it's definitely going to be different. And, I think and we all see it, politically, and we all see it news-wise. You see this is the picture. I think Georgia had the picture of all the kids in the hallway. I think they had more kids in the picture than we'll have in the high school at a time. So I think, we're definitely going to be monitoring and making sure. And if they, like I said earlier, if they don't follow the rules, we don't have much patience for that. We have another option you can go to. So virtual students, will there be assigned times that our assignments are due or flexible with teachers? Correct. There's going to be some flexibility, just like there was in the spring. It's always the balancing act because you want some flexibility, but on the flip side, I also do not want to create a procrastinator's dream, that they can, not do anything for 17 weeks and then, all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I got to get this all in. So I think it's good for balancing for the kids. It's good for balancing for the teachers, because on the flip side, I don't want my teachers, wondering, oh my gosh, these kids aren't doing any work. And then the last couple of weeks of the semester saying, oh my gosh, I have to grade so much assignments, So I think we definitely have to have a balance, but also I think as you pointed out, Liz, there's definitely some at-home things that we know are going to affect things too. We have the case, we know when we built the schedule, so it's 12, 7, 12, and 4K. There might be a high school kid that's literally watching their 4-year-old brother or sister at home, and it's going to take up some time, type of thing. There's going to be kids that'll be working. I know I've had a number of parents, which some people may think is odd. I've had a number of parents reach out saying, my kid in the A or B day, because they've typically been working these days, type of thing. So I think the flexibility is going to be great. And like I said, but at the same time, we don't want to create bad habits in people. Ultimately, there'll be a deadline, but it's not going to be like turn it in by the end of the hour by any sense. So will attempts be taken at the school? Great question. Something that actually will continue to, I think, probably once a week, we ask that of Vernon County Health. The tough balancing act with it is, we want parents to be parents. We want parents to send their kids off healthy. I think there's always that fear that they might not. On the flip side, when you consider the middle school kids, and I don't know, numbers wise, John would probably have, 300 to 400 kids in this building on a given A or B day. I don't necessarily want 450 kids lined up outside the building waiting to get their temperature check, coming in too. And if I spaced them out 6 feet apart, they would probably stretch to Westby, so I think we have to be a little bit careful with that. And a lot of the guidance, there's guidance on both sides of things. But a lot of guidance originally is like, if the group is too big, you should do the self check. There is, I think every day, and Tom and probably Pat and John and Kathy maybe even can attest to this, we have salespeople trying to sell us new stuff every day, and different type of temperature checks and different types of different things. So, we'll obviously, what we do September 1, if we come up with a better idea September 4, we might, type of thing. So I think there's, we know that, we're going to be ready for September 1, but we also know that this is all new to us. So if something changes and we have a better plan come September 3rd, I hope you want us to go with the better plan. So schedules should be on Skyward. Yep. Their current schedules that they are in is on Skyward. Who's overseeing the Edmentum curriculum? Oh, good. People are answering other people's questions for me. So I'm kind of skipping around. Overseeing the Edmentum curriculum or the Edmentum students, it could depend a little bit. The counselor is always connected. The principal is always connected. Parents usually for online curriculum are connected. It wasn't through Edmentum, but it was through another similar company. I've had children of my own that have done online courses. Typically, they have the parents' email connected too. Most places I've had, you've been able to get even like weekly emails. So you're pretty up to date on where the kids are at. There's usually pacing guides. So if your kid's on pace or if they're behind. So what type of motivational speech to give your child, or if you need to give them kudos. So we'll all be doing it. And I would expect that my role will be a large part of that when I'm not out in the halls. Last year was a hot mess with homework. Yeah, I think last year was a hot mess for a lot of reasons. I think, we planned things with a couple of days, and I think last year was a lot more emergency mode. Whereas I think this year, and I say this knocking on wood because we know the state could change our plans in a day, or in an hour, or in a minute, type of thing. But yeah, I think we learned a lot from last spring. We know for the online component what we need to train our staff in more, what we need to work on. Our staff was able to give feedback. We were able to kind of get prepped. And so, yeah, I think, and even, like I said, last spring, I think we realized how much that importance is to see the kids, how much to see them in person, and to connect with them, even though you hate it as a teacher telling that kid every day to get their work in. It's a whole lot easier saying it to them than, emailing them or trying to call them. Type of thing. So I think there's a lot of benefits to be learned from it. And I think we may not be expert online teachers, but we're better than we were in mid-March. So any other questions? Since there's a break right now, I will take a drink of water. I am not in mid-school year form yet as far as talking. So. And if you came to any of the previous town halls, Tom's kind of a talker. So in our admin meetings, I don't get to talk this much, this long in a row. So. I'll wait a couple more minutes. If you don't have any more questions, or, it's similar to like, we've all been on those interviews, and, on our way home, we had that great question coming up. So if anything pops up like that, feel free to email me, give me a call, things like that. VHS masks going to be for sale for us to buy? Yeah, we actually will provide free masks for students. The state of Wisconsin is actually providing free masks. So we will have, I don't know how many it ends up getting, because the more people that said it, the more or the more different groups. And I was in enough county meetings that they're like, anybody want 3 more masks? So we have like boxes and boxes upon masks, cloth masks for kids.
Jason, I
Which will
think the
help
question
out.
is about these. I think the question was
Yeah.
about these.
If you want Toms, those are pretty staff specific, but I don't know if Tom has looked at it yet, but I will tell you that there is an apparel order that will be put together pretty soon from student council. And I can tell you that there will be a facial covering that has never been on a apparel order here before. So this will be, I'm guessing, the first time ever that face masks will be a part of our apparel order. So if that is something that interests you, we're just getting working on that now. So, and thank you guys all for the thank yous. I mean, obviously we're trying to do the best for your kids and your families. So, any other questions? Also, obviously, and I think others have said it too, thank you guys for your patience, because we're trying to put this together as quick as possible. We flipped over half of the admin team. We're trying to be as transparent and get all the information out to you as much as we can. At the same time, we tried to have that balance because we didn't want to get out a plan too early and then have somebody squash us down or change things down. So, but I think, you know, we put a lot of effort into the plan. We gave options, which is always great. The school board unanimously passed it. If you're reading newspapers, there's a whole lot of 4-3 votes going on in different communities. So hopefully we put together a plan that meets the needs. It may not be perfect. We're in the middle of a pandemic, so I don't know if we're going to get perfect. But hopefully it meets your needs and gets our kids educated and in a good place. So.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Administrators, thank you for this marathon. Wow. Parents, thank you so much for attending.
Oh, I got another question.
Uh-oh.
The child goes virtual. Can they stay virtual? We will keep this option at least open for this full entire school year. No matter what happens out in the world, we will keep our virtual option open for the whole school year.
Great question. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great night. This is recorded and this will be uploaded tomorrow to the website.
Thank you, everybody, for participating.